You ever been so sure you were doing the right thing by doing nothing? Yeah, me too. See, I used to think that silence was strength, that distance kept things clean, that if I didn't get too close, I couldn't get hurt, couldn't cause hurt. I thought walking away was a form of wisdom, a way of keeping peace without picking up the pieces. But here's the kicker. Avoidance isn't peace. It's pause. And that pause becomes a prison. I didn't see it then. I told myself I was protecting them. Truth is, I was protecting me from the hard talks, the heavy emotions, the mirror I was scared to look into. But you can only outrun the truth for so long before it taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, I'm still here. And when that moment comes, when you realize the thing you were running from was the very thing worth facing, man, it hits you like a freight train full of all the words you never said. It's quiet at first, a whisper, a regret that tugs on your collar at night. Then it grows into memories, into questions, into that knot in your stomach that says, I should have stayed, I should have tried, I should have cared louder. I look back and see the face of someone who counted on me, and I wasn't there. Not really. I see the text I ignored, the conversation I dodged, the truth I dressed up as self-control, and I feel it, the weight, the ache, the cost. Avoidance doesn't protect you. It delays the pain. It puts it on layaway until one day you wake up and it's all due with interest. So now I try to face it, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because pain is honest. Fear is informative. And love, real love, it requires presence, not perfection. If you're listening to this and you're still running, I get it. But let me tell you, there's more peace in the apology than in the silence. More freedom in showing up broken than staying hidden whole. It's never too late to turn around, knock on the door and say, I see it now. I was wrong and I'm here if you'll still have me. Because in the end, the only thing worse than the mistake is never trying to make it right. Avoidance delays pain, but it never erases it. Truth always catches up. That's the thing nobody tells you when you're choosing silence over honesty, distance over connection, escape over effort. It feels like relief at first, like you've outsmarted the storm. You dodge the hard conversation, the heavy emotions, the uncomfortable truths. You walk away thinking you've taken control. You've bought yourself time, space, clarity. But what you've really done is press pause on the inevitable. Because avoidance isn't peace, it's a ticking clock. You're not diffusing the bomb, you're just closing the door and pretending it's not there. And that door, it doesn't stay shut forever. The truth has a way of seeping through the cracks. It waits patiently, and it always finds its way back into the room, sometimes louder, sometimes heavier, but always more urgent than before. You tell yourself you're protecting others. You tell yourself you're keeping things calm, not making it worse. But deep down, if you're honest, you know who you're really trying to protect is you. From guilt, from accountability, from the mirror, from feeling all the things you don't want to feel. Fear is sneaky that way. It dresses up like logic, sounds like caution, and convinces you that avoidance is wisdom. But wisdom doesn't run, it doesn't hide, it shows up, shaky hands and all. When you avoid, you're not erasing the pain, you're just moving the furniture around to make space for it to grow. Every conversation you didn't have stacks up. Every word you didn't say becomes weight you carry in your chest. You laugh at the wrong times. You feel a tightness in your throat when someone brings up their name and you can't quite sleep the same. That's the cost. It's slow, it's quiet, but it adds up. And the longer you avoid it, the bigger it gets. What could have been a moment of discomfort becomes a season of regret. A simple truth that needed air becomes a lie you're now living in. You don't even notice when it starts changing you. How your shoulders stay tense, how your joy gets filtered through guilt, how your relationships grow shallow because you're not fully present anywhere. Because part of you is still back there in the moment you walked away. People say time heals, but that's only half the truth. Time heals what you face, what you own, what you work through. But time does nothing for the things you bury. They just sit there, waiting. And eventually, They make themselves known, sometimes in a moment of quiet, sometimes when you see them again, sometimes when you least expect it. And when it hits hard, because now you're not just dealing with the original pain, you're also dealing with the shame of knowing you ran. Avoidance teaches you that silence can cost more than speaking, that disappearing isn't the same as being safe, that walking away might keep things quiet, but it doesn't make them right. There's a reckoning that comes when you realize all the pain you tried to dodge is still there, and now it's multiplied. That's when the truth catches up. Not to punish, but to ask a question. Are you ready to feel now? Are you ready to face it? Because it never went anywhere. It just waited for you to be honest enough to admit you weren't ready before. Yeah, there's more strength in showing up flawed than staying silent and safe. That's not always an easy truth to accept, especially when the world seems to reward polished images and mistake-free facades. But real strength isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about being there even when you don't have all the answers, even when you're scared, even when you've already messed up. Because the people who matter, the ones who truly connect with you, aren't looking for flawless, they're looking for real. When you try to protect yourself by staying silent, by keeping your mess to yourself, by pretending you're okay when you're not, you might feel like you're keeping things together, but what you're really doing is building a wall between you and everyone else. You're keeping the pain in and the connection out. Silence might feel safe, but it's a lonely kind of safety. It doesn't nourish you, it doesn't heal you. It just isolates you in a version of yourself that isn't whole. Strength doesn't mean having it all figured out. It means standing in front of someone and saying, I don't know how to fix this, but I care enough to try. It means letting your guard down long enough for someone else to see what's really going on underneath. It means being honest about your fear, your guilt, your regret, and letting that honesty do the work silence never could. The people who carry the most weight in life are often the ones who admit their weaknesses. They're the ones who step forward when it would be easier to step back. They choose discomfort over distance, responsibility over retreat. That kind of vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage in its rawest form. It's saying, I might get hurt, but this matters too much to ignore. That takes more guts than any well-timed exit ever did. When you stay silent to avoid judgment, you're letting fear run your life. And fear is a bad driver. It keeps you small. It makes you second guess your worth. It tells you that your flaws are something to hide rather than something to understand. But showing up messy, uncertain, honest, that's when the real work begins. That's when growth starts, because you can't grow from a place you refuse to stand in. The truth is, no one connects with perfection. We connect through cracks, through shared struggles, through the courage it takes to say, yeah, I screwed that up. Or I didn't know better, but I do now. That's where the healing happens. That's where relationships deepen, where trust is built, where change becomes possible. And you don't get there by staying silent. You get there by stepping into the fire, knowing you might get burned, but also knowing the truth is worth it. People remember the ones who show up, not the ones who disappear when things get hard. And when you show up flawed, something powerful happens. You stop performing, you start living. You stop being a version of yourself built to please others, and you start becoming someone grounded in something real. That's a foundation no silence can build. Letting people see your imperfections doesn't make you weak, it makes you brave. It tells the world, I'm here and I'm trying. That simple act, being present, being honest, is stronger than any exit, any silence, any mask, because silence might protect your image, but presence protects your soul.